Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host, Sree Iyer, and today I have with me again Roshan Ngangom, and you have seen him before. We've talked about Manipur. He is from Manipur, and he is a very erudite person who can tell us what is really going on there. As we have been, I hope all of you watched my interview with Niranjan Desai a couple of days ago, where we talked about the various players, what is happening about Arakan Army. They have taken over 𝗬𝗟𝗏, how 𝗬𝗟𝗏 is critical for the Kalandi link corridor, and so on and so forth. Today, we are getting even more news. Article 355 has been reimposed on Manipur again. The Chief Minister Birendra Singh is not happy with BJP. He's saying something. So I just wanted all of us to get to the same page. A lot of things happening in Manipur. Who is doing it? Why are they so desperate? All this and more. Let's welcome Roshan Ngangom. Roshan ji, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaskar, Sree. How are you?
I'm doing well, Roshan ji, and we have not talked after this formation of NAMTA. I had one monologue where I had linked all these things. NAMTA is also another Soros front because these people, having seen that they are not getting any traction, they pulled in the same usual characters: Hindus for Human Rights, IAMC, Equality Lab, Peter Friedrich, same set of lumpens have been pulled in there. Anyway, well, we'll talk about NAMTA also. Sir, talk to us today. What is happening in Manipur?
Well, from a violence perspective, it has kind of escalated in the last 45 days. About 25 Meiteis, including some commandos, have been killed. The last instance was in a place called 𝗤𝙧𝙤𝘁, and that their, villagers were shot dead. Where the Kuki militants, I would say, had entered the village and killed a few. And the fact is, two of those Meiteis are Meitei Christians, if you believe, and those who have tried to paint this as a religious conflict would be shocked to hear that the Kuki Christians are killing Meitei Christians. So it has kind of escalated to a point where this is not just an ethnic violence or between two communities, but it has gone into cross-border terrorism and militancy in getting involved, and it has kind of escalated, and people are not happy. The politicians are also under fire, and a lot of turmoil is going on. So it was quiet for a little bit, and then suddenly in the last 45 days, it has escalated. There was an attack on the commando outpost in the border town of Moreh. And it was not just once, but multiple times. And I think reinforcements were being sent, I guess, but it's probably still not enough.
Roshan, I'm hearing documented 40,000 people, refugees have come in, but the number could be much higher. Now, are these refugees fleeing from the conflict areas in 𝗬𝗟𝗏 area? Which states are they coming into? Are they all crowding into Manipur? How are things there?
So I would say infiltration, illegal immigration is not something new just because of this conflict. It has been going on for a while, and whenever there is turmoil in Myanmar or Burma, as it used to be called, there will be an influx because because of the war that's going on in Myanmar. People will flock on the Indian side of the border, I guess. So this is not something new. We have documented. I would say we found documents where there used to be a Burmese Refugee Association, a Burmese I would say Burmese Kuki Refugee Association at some point in the 60s and the 70s, which it's not nowhere to be seen. We found documents there. We found rehabilitation documents from the 60s of Kukis coming into Manipur and trying to find some temporary space, and so on and so forth. And it had happened whenever there is a junta is in power and there is always turmoil in Myanmar. So it happened in the 80s, late 80s, and then it happened again recently. And because of that, the influx of, I would say, refugees and illegal immigrants on the Indian side of the border has been escalated at this point because of and that has kind of, I would say, made life not good, and probably the cause of the conflict is because of that.
The ongoing challenges in the Northeast. I mean, for the longest time, India just ignored Northeast as an area that needs to be looked at, just like they would look at other states. But the Modi government from 2014 has been on an Act East policy, and a lot of things have improved. I think I read somewhere a couple of years ago, before all this started, that real estate has actually started appreciating in the Northeast, which was not the case before. And that is a welcome change, because that means that people feel like their properties are worth something. And here the implications, pointing fingers at some external agency trying to cause trouble. So there is that happening. Second thing is, India consciously tried to wipe out all the opium cultivation inside Manipur. How successful has that been? Has the drug menace gone down now? Where do things stand there?
Well, from a fight against drug is concerned, if you follow the Northeast news, right, now the route of drug has changed from going through Manipur, which was an easier route before, to maybe Mizoram and Assam, because you'll always, I can probably compile a bunch of tweets where you'll say, oh, yesterday we caught so many crores, like, tens of crores, 150 crores, 100 crores. It's like, whenever they find these, and it's almost a weekly occurrence. I think a couple of days ago, even in Manipur, the drugs worth 12 crore was intercepted. I think within the last couple of days. So even during this conflict, when movement is restricted, you will still find this drug getting through. And now suddenly Mizoram is in the limelight because of the amount of drugs being caught going through Mizoram, right? Poppy cultivation, there are 14,000 reported acres in the hills of Manipur, right? Of which I think about 10,000, I think, is in the Kuki dominated area. And the government has been trying really hard, but the terrain and the remoteness of these hills is very hard, because you chop down one field, another field pops up in a few months somewhere else, right? So, and it is a devastating effect on the environment. If you see those hills which used to be really green and flourishing, if you see it, it's bare right now. It's like completely bare. Like, there are visuals where it has been devastated because of this poppy cultivation, and the weed killer that they're using is the one that is really devastating the environment out there. So it's partial success. It was going through and probably seeing the success of those poppy fields being destroyed. I think those drug lords have kind of like orchestrated this thing so that they can keep the government at bay. And now the government cannot function properly because of this conflict. Now everybody is focused on the conflict, and
Divert attention on that.
It's diverted. It's everything has been diverted. That thing has been put aside. So it's unfortunate at this point.
For the longest time, people used to say that Myanmar junta is in the pockets of China. Whereas if you see what is happening now, it's a little confusing. Who is with whom? Who is aiding what? If you can kind of help us understand this, because Arakan Army, and there is also this thing called NUG, I think, Nationalist Unity Government, that is based inside Myanmar, that claims to be the one who's the voice of democracy in Myanmar. They have offices in Washington, D.C. They have asked U.S. for an aid for $500 million to try and stabilize the region. I mean, you can put up any number you want. So NUG is there. There are a couple of other fronts. They've all combined together now, and they claim that they are controlling, critical areas in the Myanmar China border. Viewers, I'm saying all these things because it's a little bit confusing as to who are the stakeholders here. What do they stand to gain? Of course, they are trying to create strife in India because they are trying to see if this can have an impact on the election. Because what they think, this is my 2 cents, Roshan, and I could be horribly wrong. There is a definite tilt of the Christian minority in India towards the BJP. And I think they are trying to see if they can shore up that and stay, make that not happen, to like point fingers and say, look, BJP is doing a bad job of managing minorities in Manipur. I could be wrong about this. So unpack this a little bit for us.
So from a minority like BJP not being able to take care of the minorities, I think what's going on is making this conflict an international issue. I'm not sure how many people in the West even knows about a place called Manipur before this conflict, and I'm not even sure whether they know what the makeup of the population of Manipur is, but they have kind of oversimplified it to majority minority kind of conflict. If you compare the Meitei Hindus and the rest of the population, the Christian population in Manipur, it's almost 41% each. So which is there are, if you go deep into what's going on in Manipur, you'll find all these things that will kind of I would say, falsify the claims that people are making about the simplification of this conflict, right? So that is that is there. I know there has been quite a group, or I would say organizations, they are geared towards trying to make India look bad, and especially the BJP look bad, because recently India has started to flex their muscles, and economically and otherwise, and whenever they get a chance, they try to show them in the bad light, right? So that kind of I would say attitude has led to all these claims about the BJP not able to take care of minorities and so on and so forth. Coming to the geopolitical side of it, because of the junta in power, and you have these EAOs, or the ethnically armed organizations, you have PDF and the other ones. I'm not a geopolitical expert by any means, but from what I know, China is trying to get through to the Indian Ocean through Myanmar, right? That is their plan. They want to create a railway line, that's in their plan. They want to create roads and get access to it, which is probably not ideal from an Indian standpoint. The Kaladan project is a huge project, and that goes right through Mizoram and Aizawl, and that is a big interest from India's perspective. Who is with who is very that is still very confusing. I've heard different aspects of it, different sides of the story, but again, the PDFs, the other groups, so the Arakan Army and so on and so forth, they are all working against the junta, right? So that is a well-known fact. And the other portion is, where are the arms and ammunition coming from? Who is supplying them, right? Somebody has to sell it, somebody has to buy it, right? So there is money involved, there's arms dealing involved in all these, I would say, efforts from these EAOs, right? So those are quite, I would say, I'm not, as I said, I'm not privy to those, but there are questions that remains unanswered at this point.
Thank you, Roshan. If our editor can bring up the Kalandi project corridor, we have this map. We had shown this the other day. I just wanted to re-establish the context there. It will come up in just a moment. See, you see, there are portions that are not within the control of Indian government. For example, this Kalandi project enters from the ocean through Myanmar, and then there's a river. Kalandi is actually a river, right? So it navigates up the river. Here we go. It's just coming up. Yeah. So you can see here. See, viewers, this is the sea route that connects Kolkata with Aizawl. This is the fastest and most cost efficient to move things from Kolkata to Aizawl. And once you get in there, then you can move up to Manipur and further up northeast. So this is the project, Kaladan multimodal project. And you can see that from Sitwa port, you can navigate up the Kaladan river up to Paleva. Guess what? Now the rebels have Paleva under their control. Now that's where the problem comes, because if a pivotal nodal point is under the control of somebody who doesn't want this to go through, clearly who is the one who stands to lose? Clearly it is China. However, this is where I'm getting a little confused, Roshan, because the same group seem to be attacking China in the border in Shan state. So I mean, like, so what are you trying to do? Who is with whom? This is the confusion part for me. Maybe you can help us understand this.
So junta is, from what I know, is supported by China, right? So whenever junta comes into power, China gets crude oil from Myanmar. That's based on what I've heard from some experts, that that's their deal. And to extend their influence into the Indian Ocean, and it affects all these projects that we are trying to do from an Indian standpoint. China is trying to influence those, I guess, right? So, but at the same time, it's one of those things where the I don't have proofs, but there has been rumors where the PDFs and the EAOs, some of them who are fighting the juntas, have support from India, because they feel that in order to protect something like this, like the Kaladan project, multimodal project, they need the EAOs to kind of ward off the junta and China at the same time, right? But on the flip side of it, when a conflict like the ones in Manipur happens, those same EAOs will side with the cookies, because if you know or not, cookies are not just in Manipur. Cookies are spread in Burma or Myanmar, India, which is Manipur, Mizoram, Nagaland, even Assam, and in Bangladesh. In Bangladesh also, they are having this kind of conflict that they are having in Myanmar with the Bangladeshi army, and the Bangladeshi army is having a hard time controlling these Kuki militants in the Chittagong Hills, right? So what is happening right now is, whenever there is a conflict like these, they kind of support the Kuki brothers on the other side of the border. And that's what happened in the Moreh town, where the security advisor Kuldeep Singh even claimed that there is a high chance of cross-border militancy kind of like involved in the attack of the commandos in Moreh. And because of that, the people are not happy. Yeah, so it's very, 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 very sad that the same groups that we thought could help India has come back to hurt India, and which is in the form of the Manipur conflict.
Well, it appears that they are looking at the highest bidder and doing the bidding of the highest bidder. Viewers, we'll keep you posted on this. This is still a fluid situation, and whose parties, counterparties, and things like that. And in Rami Desai's hangout also, she touched upon the 𝗠𝙧𝙤𝘀𝘀 press conference and some detail. So viewers, I request you to watch this as well as that one to give you a better depth in terms of what is going on. And certainly this clearly appears to be the next destabilization project. Having failed in Bangladesh, the US appears to be in some form or the other involved here. I have put out some tweets. I have not seen any responses back, but certainly, this is the thing that I ask United States. How would you like it if the current ambassador, Taranjit Singh Sandhu, comes to the border and starts making comments and saying that, well, if you need help with the refugees, we are here to help? Because that's exactly what the US ambassador to India, 𝗤𝙧𝙤𝘀𝘀, did. He goes to Manipur and then he comes back to Kolkata. He gives a press conference there saying that we are here to help. What? You are hindering. What is the point in saying we are here to help? But what is the role of an ambassador? I'm also hearing, Roshanji, that in Bangladesh, they actively tried to prevent Sheikh Hasina from coming back. And I have done a couple of episodes on this, viewers. You all know what happened there. And the point I'm trying to make is the old way in which US used to destabilize or its own version of democratic countries or democracy in countries, this is not going to fly anymore. You have a lot of people now are coming to know and they are going to point fingers back at you. But how well as Americans, how well are we managing ourselves? You have the vice president who's supposed to be in charge of the border crisis. That person hasn't even visited the border once. So it's just a joke. When you try to pontificate to somebody else that thou shalt do this, look at yourself. It's just a mess. I'm just trying to say US first needs to set its house in order before it can start talking about democracy in other countries. Long story short, we are still in a fluid situation. If you would like to conclude, Roshanji, and then we can take, I think there are a couple of questions also.
Yeah, so I believe the refugee situation, or I wouldn't even call it refugee, because India is not part of the refugee, I would say, the agreement that is signed. All these are called illegal immigrants. There is another policy called the FMR policy, the free movement regime, which allows people from both sides of the border to cross into about 16 kilometers into the border, just for trading and so on and so forth, right? That is going to be scrapped based on because that has been proved counterproductive. It has increased militancy. It has increased the arms dealing based on the assessment of the union government, and they feel that they need to remove that also. And I believe Mizoram has been very up against it because they don't like it. But it is affecting Manipur more than the others because we don't have a check for it. If somebody crosses and settles on the Indian side of the border, it becomes permanent, right? So that needs to be scrapped. The border needs to be fenced, and I think the paramilitary needs to be activated to curb some of this violence, some of this militancy that is affecting the border. So with that, I would say that we need the utmost attention of the union government in Manipur, because the state itself cannot handle all this militancy from all around. If you see the attacks being happening, it is a 360 attack on the Métis.
Absolutely. And I'll leave our viewers with this parting thought. In the early years of the Modi administration, 2014, 2015, I've had some data from this company called Flipkart. Now, Flipkart is part of Walmart. Flipkart's biggest selling item in their entire e-commerce site was cell phones. Of all the places where the cell phones were sold, the maximum selling area was the city of Aizawl. And in Aizawl, there used to be, cash on delivery method. So everybody would come to Aizawl with cash and get their phones. And one wonders why. I mean, they looked at it and saw that the per capita phones in Aizawl was 2 or 3. Essentially, what it means is people are coming in, they were bringing in fake currency first, using that to buy these phones, and then using that as an insurgency measures against India. This was what was happening. This is another sub-story as to why demonetization had to be carried out. So, India has a vast area, and I think the most important thing for everyone to remember is you need to understand which country you belong to. You're a human being first, then you are the citizen of a country. That is the way things are. Otherwise, you wouldn't need a passport to get around outside your country. And your region, your religion, all those things come a lot later. Understand that this country is for all. It's not for one or the other. And these kinds of problems need to be really tackled at that level. That national identity feeling has to come in. This is something that US has it right, Roshan. You've probably seen school events, even in high school events. If there is a game going on, first thing they do is recite the national anthem. It's a proud moment. Somebody's chosen to come and sing it. India doesn't even do that. We need to go back to that point. You need to feel. I mean, till 1970s, right, Roshan? If you watched a movie in a theater, the national anthem used to be played. It's a small reminder that, look, you are this first, These things are important because otherwise your national psyche goes away and you're fighting all these mini battles here and there. I'm a little bit on a rant here, of course, but I'm just saying that this is one of the things that needs to be addressed, and I'm hoping that this also gets addressed. Thank you so much, Roshan. Let's take a few questions for you, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Ajay Nagendra wants to know, ask Roshan, what are the steps that India has to take in view of the upcoming general election with the model code of conduct? What's China's role in this any conflict?
Okay, what's China's role in any conflict? One is most probably the proliferation of arms, because most of the arms are coming from the China side of it. And second is its collaboration with junta, and that is kind of affecting India's interest in the Indian Ocean. And once they get access to the Indian Ocean, then it's basically not a good thing for India, because on the north there's China, on the west we have Pakistan, and you don't want China breathing down India's neck in the east. Right, so that is something that India is very wary of. From a general election perspective, I'm an apolitical person from that perspective, so I'm not a political pundit by any chance. I am not sure what kind model code of conduct. So this is probably regarding what kind of strategies India is going to take for the upcoming general election. That is something that the union government has to take in view of what's going on in the Northeast. The Northeast is a very important part of India. It has always fronted the eastern border of India. So if that is under threat, then it is not a ideal situation for India.
Next question from Sonal Vora. Are porous borders the main problem? Is the political will lacking in Manipur?
Yes, yes, and yes to a certain extent. The first question, are the borders porous? So that's the second part that our Honorable Home Minister Amit Shahji recently announced, that they're going to start fencing the border, right? So, and then the second part, as I said before, the FMR, the free movement regime, allows people to cross over 16 kilometers on either side of the border. So that was another policy that has kind of backfired. And because of that, people have started coming on to the side of Manipur, get Aadhaar card, get voter cards, then get STs because they are cookies, right? So those kind of illegal, I would say, things are going on. And because of this porous nature, it's very hard to control those. So NRC is also a must. So NRC is also a must, especially in a place like Manipur, because we are not able to identify, who are the illegal immigrants, who are the original residents of India. So it's very hard to identify. So fencing, NRC, and removing FMR is important.
Thank you so much, Roshan. And viewers, I guarantee you, after the elections are over, India will have a more permanent policy here. It is something that is needed, but there are only so many problems you can solve in a day, and this is one of the challenges. This not for lack of effort on part of Indian government. It is trying. You see problems in Kashmir, you see problems in Kerala, you see problems in Tamil Nadu, you see problems in Mizoram, you see problems. So I can just go on. The thing is, sometimes you have to prioritize some, and here is a situation where I think it will get stabilized very quickly, because the majority of the population knows what is going on, and this is something that probably will be an issue for the election. Maybe it will tamper down after that. And I'm also hoping to put some pressure on the United States government that if you are doing something like this, you really need to stop doing this thing. I mean, there are other ways to engage with democracies. This just is not it. My personal opinion, of course. And viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And Roshan, thank you so much for taking time out. It's the beginning of the day for all of us. And thank you so much, sir. And I'll see you again very soon. Namaskar.
Thank you, Sree, and thank you, everyone.